What's up, guys? It is John from Side Hustle Experiment. I just sat down with my good friend Warner Fields of Profit for an interview for today's video. A lot of great stuff was dropped. If you don't know who he is a seven-figure Amazon seller. He did over $1 million in the last 12 months. We talk about how he started with books, just like me, why he moved to OA, how he went from 6 figures to 7 figures, kind of some of the systems he puts in place, how he runs his VA team of 10 people. We go over tips of how to work with virtual assistants, doing online arbitrage, some really good tips on how to manage them, some things you could do, how to make it a great experience for them, and we drop a lot of other knowledge. So let's just get into it, and make sure to follow his socials. He drops a ton of great content, YouTube, Instagram, everywhere. So let's get into it. Here with my good friend, Warner Fields of Profit. You've probably seen his...
If you're just learning out, obviously it's not obvious if you're just now starting.
What's up, guys? It is John from Side Hustle Experiment. What's up, guys? It is John from Side Hustle Experiment. Welcome back to the channel. I'm here with my good friend, Warner Fields of Profit. You've probably seen his face around on YouTube, Instagram, the FBA roadmap, all that stuff that he's up to. Welcome to the channel.
Thanks for having me. It's we've been making content for a while together. I haven't been on the channel yet.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh man, I gotta really get him on there. He texted me last night. I was like, come on mine. I was like, I'm just gonna invite him on mine too. We'll just do this. So you want to give the people a little bit how you got started, what you're up to now?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So my name's Warner. I started selling on Amazon in like late 2018. Went to thrift stores and yard sales and estate sales and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of selling books. So similar to John, coming from the books world, was able to grow that into about $100,000 a year doing books my first 2 or so years, and then realized that I was going to be limited kind of forever, somewhere around there, if I was just constantly going out to thrift stores and scanning books and all that kind of stuff. It's a great way to start. Didn't have a lot of money. I was going out, spending $1 on a book, sell it for 20, you get, $5-6 profit, and then repeat it with those awesome ROIs. But eventually you kind of reach a point where it's hard to grow anymore. So that's where I started to use all that money I made selling books, doing online arbitrage. So I buy items from, Walmart, Target, Walgreens, flip those items on Amazon. And in the last 12 months, we're sitting at about $1.3 million in sales, about 15% net, 15 to 16% net. I know everybody's going to be wondering that as well. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Just kind of started in college as a side hustle and been able to grow it into doing some online arbitrage. Got a team now. It's been a fun journey.
I won't do the miles and say, show you the phone, like show the I won't do that. But yeah, no, that's awesome. And I think that is one of the best parts about books. And I do still recommend it. It's a little harder to recommend because OA is more scalable. But I think we were both able to scale so quickly because I had a ton of capital because books produce a lot of capital. Like, I'm paying maybe like $2,000 or $3,000 a month for material. Now I'm spending like $30,000-$40,000 a month on inventory. So like it was real easy to like kind of get started with that. So with online arbitrage, what would you say are the differences between that and books, or what do you like better about it?
Yeah, it's definitely obviously the scalability. The scalability is a great feature. Buying those items where in the book world you're buying 1, maybe 2 if you're lucky. With arbitrage, you can get 100 or 200 or whatever that site is going to let you buy that day. That's that's a whole different topic within OA. But I would say probably the absolute best part about doing OA is that it really can be kind of a laptop lifestyle. One of those businesses you see the gurus in front of their Lambos. But this business, like I don't see any of my products anymore. I have employees and softwares in place so that my time obligation in the business is honestly not very big. So that's really like the massive benefit is that it's scalable and it's scalable beyond myself. I don't want to buy a job by starting a business, right? I want to be a business owner and make money by leveraging software and employees and all that kind of stuff. So that's been a really big thing. I right now I work about 2 to 2.5 hours a day on my Amazon business. So, really trying to get my systems figured out. And really, that's too much for me right now. I know it sounds insane, but I'm trying to get that down to like 30 minutes or so. But that's like my absolute favorite part. So I can be anywhere. I can, outsource as much as possible and just let the business actually run.
That's awesome. So you want to go in a little to what your team looks like, the softwares you're using, what does that kind of look like? And maybe to kind of further, could you maybe put like a timeline to it? Like maybe when did you hire your first VA, whether it's money or time in, like when did you know to get another one and kind
Yeah.
of go up the line?
Yeah, so I hired my first virtual assistant from the Philippines in July of last year. So I guess like 13 months ago, I
Oh,
hired my first VA. And then I believe he was my only VA for 1 to 2 months. And then we just kind of naturally added some more to the team. We also did a leads list for a little bit. So you needed a lot more VAs for that than I would for my personal business. But really it just comes down to when are you kind of reaching a cap with these are the leads I have available to me, these are the restock I have available to me, but hey, I've still got 20 grand left over that I need to spend. That's how you know it's time to get somebody new to add to your team. Really, if finding products is the bottleneck, that's a way easier bottleneck to solve than you don't have enough money or stuff like that. Like those are traditional business problems that are way harder to solve than just finding more leads on Amazon. That's a much easier problem to solve. So I was able to hire my first VA a little over a year ago. Right now, my personal team has 10 virtual assistants on it, which might be overkill. It's kind of an experiment. It's going well so far. We've been able to double our spend. I think we're at about 160 something thousand. It's the 22nd when we're recording this.
wow, that's
The
awesome.
goal is 200K for this month, so we should hit it. Next month is 300, so we might not hit that one, but that's kind of
Wow.
the goal. Like I said, it's an experiment, right? So last month we had 3 virtual assistants on my personal team, and I just wanted to see what happened. I felt like I had the systems ready to go, plugged them all in, and now we're just kind of pumping away buying products. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at now. My virtual assistant team uses a lot of manual and reverse sourcing, using SellerNet, all that good stuff. A couple of them are kind of ninjas with tactical arbitrage. So they'll find products from a million different sites. A couple of my other VAs will find, just 1 or 2 sites they focus on and they manually source and they get really good at that strategy. Your VAs will just naturally gravitate towards different strategies. Just let them do what works best for them. If they're not really working up to par, then I like to get in and be a little more hands-on. But a lot of times the VAs will come into your company and they'll already have practices from their last job or something like that. And it might not be a strategy that you even know yet. So it's fun to just kind of let them run and see what they come up with, and then kind of come in and do a little bit more coaching, kind of direct them if they need it. Because I've actually learned a lot of, here's this website with this coupon that I didn't know about, and then we get to go crazy on that. So it's fun to just kind of, let them run loose. And then if we need to, we'll kind of, give them a little bit of direction. But it's really nice to have all those obviously people working on something that you care a lot about. While you're sleeping, they're finding products and finding new strategies for your business. And that's something I'm big on, right? I don't want to have to do every single task in my business.
Yeah, no, that's a really great point too. Because I know when I first kind of hired my first VA, I was like, like this is. I kind of want to be like more hands on, but that was kind of my approach. Like, all right, like I'm just gonna let him source for the first week. Let's just see what he comes up with. Like, kind of let's see what we're working with. And it was actually kind of funny because I gave the instructions, and this is why I feel like it's important to communicate. I was like, oh, we're gonna reverse source, like using SellerAmp. That's what he wanted to do. I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, start doing that. Or no, he was gonna reverse source, and then I was like, okay, we're gonna use SellerAmp. Like, I have videos like walking him through it or whatever. And then I would go into SellerAmp and I look at the history, and the only 5 things were in there were like the leads for the day. I was like, "Are you using SellerAmp? Like, how are you doing it?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "But there's like only like 5. Like, there's a history. Like, I could see everything that happens in there." And he was like, "Oh, like I'm using this other thing." And so like we just had to like hash it out, like on like a Skype video, like how it should be. Like he thought it was just for like final calculation. Um, but yeah, it was just super interesting to like kind of see because like some of the stuff he was fine. I was like, this does not check out. But yeah, it was really funny. Um, so what would some advice be would you give for someone just getting started out? I know it's always a hard question because you're like, oh, well, how much capital do you need? But I think sometimes people think, and this is going to sound crazy, that like 5 to 10 grand is a lot of money. But I think if you're doing online arbitrage, it doesn't go as far as you think.
Yeah, it doesn't, but that's kind of a good thing, right? It's a good thing that it doesn't go very far because it means that the opportunity is huge, right? If 5 to 10K barely puts a drop in the bucket, then you know you're in the right vehicle that you can really take and scale. But if you are that person with 5 to 10K, or maybe you got 1 to 2,000, really just like we just made a video, but I'm gonna give the same answer. Keep it as simple as possible. Keep a seller amp, start reverse sourcing, look at the products that other people are selling, kind of get some ideas from them. And then within that, obviously, well, not obviously if you're just learning out, obviously it's not obvious if you're just now starting, but important to have other knowledge that you can compound on that. So before you start reverse sourcing, or maybe you try reverse sourcing for 30 minutes, an hour, and then start looking at the source sites where you could potentially buy a lot of the products that you're looking at. So if you're looking at a lot of vitamins, go to like VitaCost or a site like that and see what kind of sales they're running at the time. Because as you're looking through those storefronts, you should kind of have back of mind like, oh, I can get this brand for 80% of retail over here, and it might be profitable. Whereas that other person who's just looking through those storefronts, looking at the reverse searching, Google searching that item, and they see, oh, this item's $20. That item's actually $16 or $15 after a coupon. So that gives you that little bit of extra moat, kind of gives you that knowledge in the back of your mind that you need to have to really crush while you're reverse sourcing. Because if your lead is so easy to find that it's just retail price, it's I can go and find it within 30 seconds, it's probably not going to last a while anyway. So you want to be finding those leads that are hard to find. Otherwise, you're going to maybe sell it one time, and then there's going to be 20 other people on the listing, and it's going to just not be profitable anymore.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a really great point because I was in that same boat where I was like, I don't know how this is profitable. Like, and you would assume someone who has a store full of like 120 ASINs, 200, 300, like they're not losing money on every one of those. It's just, and I think a lot of the times I try to tell people is like, think about how could I get it for this price? Or instead of being like, it's not profitable, be like, well, how could it be profitable? And then maybe just like do some like general searches in Google or whatever. I think a lot of people sleep on that. Like you were talking about vitamins, like go type in vitamin sale on Google. Like you're gonna find a bunch of sites that like you never heard of, and like just give it a test or whatever, or see what's out there. So yeah, I do think that's a really great point that you brought up.
Yeah, I like that question. I've never thought that way, where it's like, how can this be profitable instead of just like, is it profitable?
I do that a lot of times too, where it's like I can't find anything. It's like you haven't found anything yet. Like it's not over.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
keep looking.
And it's you're looking at that item. It says you got to pay $10 for it. You find it for you think it's like a $15 to $12 item. It's like, all right, where could I get this item for 20% off? If you think yes, then it's worth going down the rabbit trail. I like that line of thought.
Yeah, no, and I think that too is a lot of people I think it's very black and white. Like you're just going to go through this storefront and they're either going to have it profitably or not. And I would say it's a hard line because when you're first starting, like you might be time budget constrained, but if you find a good lead and you might want to look for other items of that brand, maybe multi-packs of that, just kind of think outside the box a little. If it's kind of profitable almost, like maybe look at some other listings with that same brand there to kind of stretch it a little further.
Yeah, that's a nugget there. I like that.
So what would you say was probably one of the biggest things that helped you grow? Basically, I don't know if you mentioned it. Well, you did mention in this video. Basically, you were doing like 100,000 and now we're going to be doing like 1 million for the most part. So what do you think took you to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, just putting in the reps, having close to 4 years of experience. I guess like a week or so from now will be my 4-year anniversary, which is kind of insane.
You didn't do it in like 2 weeks.
That makes me an old man in the Amazon world, I feel like. Yeah, I would say like just experience, obviously is kind of the biggest one. Networking is also a big one. I'll die on this hill. I'm always talking about networking. But just, putting the occasional like picture out on Instagram. And, obviously for me, I've created a little bit of a personal brand, have been able to connect with people who are way more successful than me using a personal brand. So it's a little bit of a life hack for me. It's put me in contact with people who know a lot more and has helped me grow my business and just increase my skills in business in general, just beyond Amazon. So networking is massive. Go into, those Discord groups, in mentorships or whatever. There's going to be communities for you to network with. Find people who are on your level. Start sharing some information, especially like, you might have a friend who really likes selling shoes. You don't mess with shoes. And then you see, hey, there's 20% off on Nike or whatever today. And then they know you sell a lot of grocery and they say, hey, Vitacost, they're running 20% off grocery. So it's just like that networking effect. It's not just about like, hey, here's this product, go buy this product. It's, hey, I got an IP complaint. Have you dealt with one of those before? And they say, yeah, here's how I fixed it. It's just that networking effect. It increases the amount of knowledge you have available to you. It's just, it's so hard to overstate that I will always die on this hill.
Yeah, I know. I guess that's why we're here today. I mean, just like
Yeah.
Instagram or Miles or whoever, just get in the group and just get to know people. I think that is like a good point too that you brought up with kind of sharing. I think a lot of people, I don't know, I've had like mixed results. Obviously, you don't want to be giving out like your storefront and all that other stuff. But I almost feel like sometimes we sit here and be like our store is not going to be found like at all by anyone. But like obviously that's not going to be the case. But I do think like sharing leads with like a trusted person or 2 or 3 people is definitely a great way to grow. Because let's be honest, especially if you're just getting started out, like you can't like buy everything. Like no one could literally buy everything. And I think a lot of the times, a lot of people will even say to me, it's like, well, like, how do I help you? Like, what can I do? And it's like, well, if you're like sourcing really good stuff and you can't afford to buy it, like if you throw someone a lead or like, that's one of the best. Cody does Amazon does that a lot. Like that's like one of the biggest things that people do is just like, hey, like this is a hot lead, like go check it out or whatever.
Yeah, and it's also like different websites are gonna have different cancellations where maybe you can only get 30 a day, and it says, hey, hey John, go buy 30 of these. I can this website's gonna cancel me. So it's not just about all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of different reasons why you'd be willing to share products and all that kind of stuff, and just comes with making friends in the space, right?
Oh yeah, and it's like little things too, like just being like you said, hey, there's like a sale there. Like for me, like during the day, like I kind of like getting texts like that because a lot of the times it's like you could only do so much. You could only read through so many emails. Or like a lot of these sales, like probably like a pro tip is like is not always an email. Like you have to go to the site. I was like, oh, like this is like a buy one get one, but like the email doesn't go out for like another day or two. So yeah, having those like little insider knowledges, and plus like if you know the sale it just started that day, like if you start buying that day, like you're gonna be way ahead, like in inventory check-ins and stuff like that before anyone else gets it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what advice would you have? Any last like closing thoughts or anything you wish you knew when you first started, or even now that you think's important to share?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of hit on a lot of the things, but keep it simple, make friends. And a lot of people like to talk about how it's saturated or it used to be easy and all that kind of stuff. Like when I started selling on Amazon, you could not figure out how to get ungated or that kind of stuff without paying some bozo like $100 to learn how to sell Nike stuff, and they'll send you a 1-page PDF, which is like, hey, go to eBay, and it's like that is completely different now. The information and the resources available to all of us now are way more than they were back in the day. So don't fall into that scarcity mindset. Like, oh, it used to be good, like it's not good anymore. There's people who started like 3, 4, 5 months ago who are putting up serious numbers just by putting in the work, getting after it, keeping it simple and just taking action, right? So keep it simple, take action, and get after it. Try to make some friends while you're at it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. There is someone we know mutually who probably like 2, 3 years ago, I'll always remember, made a video about how to get ungated in something, and like the community went nuts. And like you're ruining, and they literally like took the video down, and they're just like, all right, like that's. But now you see it all the time, how to get ungated in this, how to get ungated in that. Well, thanks for being here. Where can everyone find you to kind of interact with you? I know you have YouTube.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to learn more about what I got going on, my YouTube channel's got a bunch of information for you guys. Fields of Profit. If you have any, if you want to ask me a quick question or anything like that, you can shoot me a message over on Instagram. Same handle, Fields of Profit. Yeah, glad to be on the channel. Thanks for having me, John.
Cool. Yeah, no, it was great. And yeah, go over there, give him a follow. He has a lot of great videos, especially tactical stuff, using SellerAmp, tactical arbitrage, repricers. He pretty much covers it all over there. All right.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for being on the channel, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
Peace.
Cool. Awesome. I thought that was